Hi, my name is Evelina, and my presentation is on Linda Bove. I knew of Linda Bove before starting this project, but I didn't know much about her. Linda Bove is a deaf American actress most known for her role as Linda the Librarian on Sesame Street. She was born on November 30th, 1945. She majored in library science at Gallaudet University, which is a private university for the education of the deaf and hard of hearing. And she received her bachelor's degree in 1968. She later went on to be an actor and performer for the National Theatre of the Deaf, soon after it was founded in 1967. In 1971, she began her role as Linda the Librarian on Sesame Street. She continued her role until 2003. This became the longest-running role on television for a deaf person. In 1991, Linda and her husband, Ed Waterstreet, created Deaf West Theater, which is a theater for the deaf located in Los Angeles. They created this theater together to support deaf actors, as Los Angeles didn't have anything similar at the time. In 2002, Linda became a certified deaf interpreter. She is now involved with a nonprofit organization called the Non-Traditional Casting Project, which advocates for more diverse and equitable casting in the theater industry. Linda Bove was born deaf to two deaf parents. While it is not mentioned publicly, her hearing loss is likely congenital and due to genetic factors, as both of her parents are deaf. I could not find any specific information on her diagnosis or its characteristics. Linda Bove identifies as a deaf person first and a woman second. Linda and both of her parents are deaf, so she grew up using American Sign Language, and that's how she communicates in her everyday life. For her role on Sesame Street, she talks about how she worked with the show's writers and explained what a typical day was like for a deaf person, and how deaf people are able to do things. She was able to use her role on the show to show the deaf community to many households. She showed and explained how people in the deaf community are different from each other, and how they all are able to express themselves and their emotions. She explained in an interview how grateful she was that the writers on Sesame Street were open to learning about her community and her experiences. She also went on to say how happy she was to be able to use her native language on the show. Nowadays, she has expressed how nice it is that there are more positive feelings towards deaf people and being in the deaf and hard of hearing community. She describes how happy she is that being deaf or hard of hearing is not necessarily being viewed as something wrong with a person, and she continues to advocate for deaf women to chase their dreams. While Linda has not spoken directly on discrimination she has faced, in an interview about her role on Sesame Street and her work with the show's writers to develop an authentic deaf character, Linda said, "The writers would write about how would a deaf person do this? How does a deaf person do that? And it was just related to my deafness, and it didn't feel like they were treating me as a person." She continued saying, "I found my character one-dimensional and kind of boring." And she said how it showed how brave a deaf person was to do this in everyday life, whereas Linda viewed it as not a big deal being deaf. She was grateful, however, with how open the writers were to rewriting the character based off of Linda's comments and concerns in order to make the character more real. Linda Bove grew up using American Sign Language, as I mentioned before, with her deaf parents, and is a Native American Sign Language user. And she had normal language development because of this. It is not publicly mentioned if she used hearing technology. However, if she wanted to, a cochlear implant would be appropriate for her type of hearing loss and would allow her better access to sound. It also might allow for a better quality of life. Thank you. These are my references.